It's the year 1670, and Europe has a problem. Every self-respecting and upstanding man needs to have a beaver fur hat, but Europe is almost out of beavers. This crisis led to an enormous business opportunity. In a coffee house in London, a group of men gathered to form what would eventually become known as the Hudson's Bay Company, but they initially decided to give it the simple and eloquent name Governor and Company of Adventurers of England Trading into the Hudson's Bay. But I'm just going to refer to it as the Hudson's Bay Company, or HBC, for the remainder of the video. King Charles II gave the Hudson's Bay Company a monopoly on all fur trade within the Hudson's Bay watershed, which is an insane amount of land. And by doing this, he essentially ignored any rights or land ownership of the indigenous peoples living there. This new land was named Rupert's Land, after King Charles's cousin, Prince Rupert, who was the first royal governor of the HBC. Eventually, the HBC controlled fur trade on around 8 million square kilometers of land. The Hudson's Bay Company built trading posts all over their land, along rivers that connected to Hudson's Bay. Indigenous trappers would spend the fall and winter months trapping beavers, then bring the pelts to the trading posts in the summer. In exchange for their pelts, the trappers would receive a token of some sort. These tokens changed shape over the years, but could be a tally stick, a bone disc, or a silver token, depending on when the trade took place. A token represented a prime beaver pelt, known as a made beaver, which was a beaver pelt in its best winter condition. The trappers could then use these tokens to buy goods at the trading posts, such as knives, rifles, pots, kettles, cloth, and liquor. To get the pelts from the trading posts to the coast, French-Canadian voyageurs were hired to move huge amounts of pelts in large canoes. The beaver pelts were then transported to England to be made into very fashionable fur hats. This system of fur trade was working really well for around 200 years. But in the mid-1800s, the popularity of beaver fur hats began to decline. They were going out of fashion. It was found that silk could be used to make hats and was less expensive. It also helped that royal trendsetter Prince Albert was wearing them. This change in fashion spelled trouble for the huge Hudson's Bay Company. Their furs were just not worth as much anymore. And it also hurt the indigenous people's economy as they relied on the fur trade. Around the same time, in 1867, the Dominion of Canada was formed by the Confederation of Ontario, Quebec, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick. The new country, led by Prime Minister Sir John A. Macdonald, was eager to gain control over the territory to their west, and feared that the Americans would swoop in first and grab the land, despite the Treaty of 1818, which established the 49th parallel as the boundary line between what was then the United Kingdom and the United States. This fear was well-founded. The Americans were eager to expand their borders, and Minnesota Senator Alexander Ramsey proposed a $6 million buyout to the Hudson's Bay Company shareholders for its land. According to his plan, this land would be divided into 3 U.S. territories, and the land would be used to build the Pacific Railway. Ramsey presented this proposal to the Senate, but the plan was never implemented because of the pressure that Sir John A. Macdonald was putting on London to have Canada purchase Rupert's Land, and because of the desire to respect the United States' previous land treaties. The pressure Macdonald put on the UK led to the 1868 Rupert's Land Act, which agreed to transfer the lands from the HBC to the brand new and nearly broke country, Canada, for a measly £300,000 payout. This reduction from the proposed $6 million US offer must have made HBC shareholders a little upset. But the company was also granted 10 million acres of their choosing from the land. So the land was transferred to Canada in 1870, which would eventually be divided into parts of Quebec, Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and the Northwest Territories. How this deal was handled angered the local population, which led to the Red River Rebellion, led by Louis Riel. But that's a topic for another video. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoy learning new things, please consider subscribing. Thanks, and see you next time.